Hello, it's me, Hilaman, from the project Promoviendo una Cultura de Paz that is sponsored by the OAS. In this video, we'll be learning a bit on some shading techniques, on how to create tones and values by using what is a graphite pencil. Okay, so the method in which we use a graphite pencil will determine on how we achieve the illusion of tone and form in a drawing. So the first method that I'll be talking about is hatching. Okay, and what hatching is it's lines that are parallel to each other that move in the same direction and they do not intersect. Okay, so we add lines that do not intersect each other, and depending on the amount of lines that we put, that will show the amount of tone or value that that part of the drawing has. So if I add more lines here, we create a darker tone, and if I keep adding more, then it stays more dense, therefore the tone is darker. I hope you can see that happening here. And let's say up here where there's less of the shade and there's more light, then we use less lines. Less lines, we increase the space between each line and the concentration, and we create a tone. Okay, so we go from dark to light, and we can create some shadow down here. And with the use of hatching, we create the tones that are needed. So for example, here closer to where the sphere meets the surface, we add more lines and we create a darker tone to get a different feel of the illusion. Now, what cross hatching is the same as hatching, just that this time, as the word cross says, the lines intersect each other. Okay, so it's a bit easier to achieve tones when using cross hatching. Okay, so we start crossing, always having in mind where our lights and shadows should be. So down here we would add more. Up here will be less. So have in mind that learning how to master these techniques takes time and practice. So we won't get it on the first try, but as we go practicing it, we'll learn how to master them and use them in our drawings to create a more realistic feel to it. So when we're scribbling, our pencil moves in random motions, random direction, and we just lay graphite all where the drawing needs. Where we have the darker parts, we add more. Where we have the light, put here light, the light source coming from up here, then we add less. Okay, down here will be more, also on the shadow. That's scribbling. Now what stripling is similar to scribbling, just that in stripling we use dots. Okay, so it's gonna take a bit of time for me to do it with this 5B. I think I'll be changing to charcoal. Okay, so we start adding dots. Man, this is taking forever. So this would be our darkest area. So as we keep stripling, As I mentioned, the concentration down here in our darkest area, our darkest tone or value, will have more. Okay, the concentration is greater. Up here where the light source is coming from, we add less, and the space between each stipple is even bigger. Okay, so there we have hatching, cross hatching, scribbling, and stripping. Now I'll be doing the blending, and this for me is one of my favorites. I think it's quicker and we achieve a better effect as well. So we start by, it can be any of these, but I prefer scribbling. We start by scribbling. So I'm gonna scribble around here on my darkest area. Okay. Remember, scribbling is random movement, there's no order, but you have to pay attention to our tones and values. So up here I'm getting a bit more loose. Okay, less graphite on my paper. Up here there is even fewer. Okay, so once I have my base, and I have applied graphite, then I'm gonna swap to either well, I'm gonna be using one of these, but you can, what's most useful is our blending stumps. Okay, if you don't know what that is, I'll be leaving a few information on that, but basically it is so we can blend the graphite that we applied here. Okay, so you see the blending happening. If we want it even darker, then we apply more scribble, and we blend again. Okay, this will be our darkest area here, the shadow. And we blend. Okay, you can add additional highlight by maybe removing some of the graphite right around this area. Okay, so that would be the forms of shading techniques. Well, these are 5, there are actually more, but I encourage each one of you to practice these shading techniques and to get better as you practice each time.